Okay, everybody, good afternoon. What is going on? Hope you guys are having a good day so far. And I'm making this video as a follow-up to the video yesterday talking about Terrion Arnold, because that video was made within like 10 minutes of the news breaking. So obviously we didn't know everything. We were still kind of collecting information. We were still kind of processing exactly how to feel about it. And as of right now, we don't necessarily have all the answers, but I wanted to go ahead and fill in some blanks from yesterday with the facts of where we are right now with Terrion Arnold. So we're going to take a look at the nature of his contract as I understand it. And then we're also going to look a little bit at the legal situation that he's in and try to understand at least some basic part of it. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So first, let's start with the contract, and I don't think this will surprise anybody, but apparently the Terrion Arnold contract with the Seahawks is expected to be a one-year deal for minimum salary. So one-year deal at the minimum, which, I mean, that makes sense for everybody, right? Arnold doesn't want a multi-year deal right now, and he's not really in a position to ask for more than the minimum. Maybe he could have gotten a little bit more if he really wanted to, but right now he'll just be happy to be able to play some football. And I think you can see that he wants to be a part of what this team is. He wants to be a part of what is being built in Seattle. I think he looks at what they did last year, looks at what they're building this year, and he's like, I would rather be a part of that than have a bigger role on a worse team. Like, he probably had the opportunity to sign with teams like the Giants, or I think it was the Saints, and maybe play a little bit more, but he wants to be here because he wants to rebuild his reputation with somebody like a Mike McDonald. So 1-year deal, minimum salary. Now, my understanding is that because he has 2 years of accrued seasons and it's 2026, that means 1.075 million. So just under 1.1 million. And that's obviously not really significant. That doesn't really make any kind of an impact on the salary cap. That doesn't impact the Witherspoon extension or the Big Cat extension or anything else this team is going to do. 1.1 million, not even 1.1 million. So on that front, we're good. And it really does highlight that there is no risk here, because this 1.075 million would be fully non-guaranteed, I believe. I believe he would get nothing if he just never plays for you or you cut him before the season. So my understanding would be that this is something that basically carries no risk. And even if it is fully guaranteed, it's not enough money to really make you care about that. So we've got that going on. And as Curtis Allen points out here, I didn't know this until he pointed it out, so shout out to him for catching this. The Seahawks will be able to theoretically tender him as a restricted free agent in 2027. So if they keep him, and if he stays on the team, and if things go well, you get to next offseason, he won't be a free agent who can just leave. You can apply a restricted tender to him and keep him at a very low cost relative to the potential player that he can be. And I understand that he hasn't necessarily been that player in the NFL yet, but there's definitely talent in there. And if he can play at the level that he teased in college, or even like 70% of it, the restricted free agent tag is going to make him an absolute bargain. So you have an option kind of open to you here. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. So what that means is when you get to 2027, you can apply one of 3 restricted tenders to him on a 1-year deal. Right of first refusal, which is 3.8, or it's estimated to be. I know that these numbers aren't necessarily set in stone yet. 3.8 approximately. A second round tender, which means that if you offer that tender and then another team matches or actually beats out your offer and signs him away from you, you get a second round pick, 6.3 approximately. And then the first round tender, which is the same as the second round tender, but a first round pick, about 8.7. So if Terrion Arnold plays really well for you in 2026, you are eagerly going to put a $6.3 million tender on him and probably even an 8.7. And even if he's just okay for you, I mean, think about it. Josh Jobe, who is a pretty good player, I think we all understand that, but he's not great. Maybe he's not even really all that good. He's just decent. Got a 3-year deal worth about $8 million a year. So if you can put a restricted free agent tag on Terrion Arnold, who I don't know if he will be as good as Josh Jobe, but he is way more talented than Josh Jobe. It's not even close. For about that same amount of money for a 1-year deal, you're excited to do that. And if somebody comes in and offers more and you get their first round pick, then sweet. Okay. I'll take a first round pick in this really good 2027 draft. I will happily do that with any team that actually wants to do that. So the options here are really appealing. You can keep the player in 2027 for a very reasonable cost. Again, it's all contingent on how he actually plays. Or you can farm a really good draft pick from a team that really, really wants to have him. So either way, you come out feeling pretty darn good because look at how little you had to give the player initially, right? You didn't have to give up a draft pick to get him. It's just a 1-year minimum salary deal. And this is the potential outcome of that. Now, the legal issue that he's having, this is where I don't have all the answers, and nobody does, because we don't know how this is going to play out. But this Condota tweet from yesterday morning, he had a Zoom meeting with the court about where things were, and my understanding is that things basically stayed as they were. From what I read, they basically said we're going to keep the bond situation as it is right now, where he's out on, I believe he's out on bond and he is under quote unquote house arrest, but he can still work. So he's still allowed to, if he's with the Seahawks, which he will be shortly if he isn't already, he can go to the facility and work out. He can play in games. He can play in the preseason. And the next scheduled court appearance is in October. So my understanding is that nothing is going to change for him until October 5th at the earliest. And this is kind of the discovery phase where you have both sides of the case collecting evidence and trying to get to the bottom of things. And then on October 5th, there's a hearing, and that's where his situation could change, where maybe now they say, okay, we got to put you in jail. But before then, I believe he should be in the clear on this front. Again, that's just my understanding based on what I've read. But if I'm reading it correctly, he has nothing to worry about in terms of his situation changing from the perspective of the law and this court until October 5th, which would be 4 games into the season. As of right now, that means he can play. However, the factor that we don't know about yet would be Goodell. And Goodell has the power to suspend a player for pretty much any reason. And he has done this before. He has taken players that get in trouble with the law, that commit some kind of a criminal act. They do not get charged. They do not actually face charges for whatever they did, but Goodell still feels like their conduct was unbecoming of an NFL player, so he either suspends them for a set number of games or puts them on an exempt list to basically keep them out of games until the situation is more clear. Goodell could still do that. As of this moment, he hasn't. So my understanding is that he can play, and what will likely happen is he'll at least be allowed to play in the preseason, and you'll probably see Goodell make some kind of a decision before the regular season starts, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did put him on the exempt list, which basically means he can't play. So that's the part that needs to be maneuvered right now, and I I wouldn't be surprised by anything. Sometimes when it comes to these league punishments from Goodell, feels like you're spinning a wheel and it just wherever it lands, that's the punishment that gets doled out. So if that's the way things end up going with Terrion Arnold, then you're just gonna have to live with it, and you're gonna have to live with that risk. And if they do give him, say, a 6-game suspension, which I think is typically the standard, like this is what happened with Zeke Elliott back in 2017, where he got involved in some stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think like he pulled down a tube top of a woman in a public place or something, and he didn't get charged, but he still got suspended 6 games. Then you're in a situation where maybe by the time the suspension is over, then the court date may have changed his circumstances, and maybe he never actually gets on the field for you. But I'll say again, there's not really a lot of risk here. The only risk is distraction. The only risk is bringing in undue attention to a team that doesn't need more attention than they already have with Hard Knocks. But as of right now, he can play. All right, that's my understanding of the situation right now. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More stuff soon.